Good morning, everyone. Welcome to all in this lecture number 21 of module 3, where we are going to study education policies at various levels. So, if you remember, in the last chapter, we understood the process of self-exploration and self-study. So, basically, last few lectures, we studied about education. We studied about dimension of education, contents of education, process of education, and then we studied process of self-study. However, if we are going to ensure this education, some policies and rules are required to be made so that the education may reach to every child of the society. We can discuss policies and rules, what is to be introduced, so that a goal of education may ensure at every level. So if we do something at the level of family and family group, we can do it any time. But when we do at the level of entire system, some policies are required for that. Otherwise, it will not be complete and will not reach everyone. So if families do it in groups, then they will only reach their children, but it will not reach everyone until it comes into policies. So there is a need to discuss about the policies at various levels, at the level of family, at the level of society, at the level of system. So let's see in this lecture what policies are required at various levels of this society. So in this lecture, we are basically going to discuss what is to be done in terms of education at the level of family, at the level of society, and at the level of policies in the system. So basically, we will see what is required to spread education at the level of family, at the level of society, and at the level of system. So let's see one by one. So first we will talk about at family levels. So if we see a child learn a lot of things in their first 5 years. In fact, they are receiving to understand, they are receiving through observation is very much high. They start observing things around them. They start observing their parents. They start observing objects. They start observing their environment. And through observation, they learn lot of things. So we have to generally focus on things that are necessary to help them understand and learn. So when the child start understanding, when the child start observing, there is a need to help the child so that he may grasp the things in a right manner. So if we see it minutely, we have to help them learn and understand the practices related to intake and daily routine. So we should observe our child and we should take care while the child is choosing his food, while the child is taking any decision, what is the daily routine of the child. All this we have to observe and help the child. In fact, we have also observed their thoughts. We have also observed their practices that they are adopting in their behavior. In all these domains, we can help the child. So when he starts speaking, we can pay attention towards the reality and also help the child to see the reality behind them. So in further, we must learn how to live. I have to help the child what is the right way to live, what is the right way to behave with parents, with brothers, with sisters and friends. All this we have to do with our child. So if we do this help to the child, he or she become aware unknowingly about the right things. So parents have to pay a little attention to develop the mindset of collaborative work. His attention should be brought towards the cooperation that he gets from the family. So many members are working for the child. For example, mother is cooking food, father is helping him in various ways. Similarly, elder brother and sister are working for the child. They are guiding the child together. So his attention should be brought towards this cooperation that he gets from the family members. He should learn the feeling of gratitude irregard of whether he is cooperative to others or not. So if we help the child towards these feelings, so child starts recognizing the feeling. So child start recognizing the feeling behind every activity. So from the starting, we have to help the child so that he may pay attention at the feelings behind any action. So for example, mother is cooking food. So we should help the child that the mother is cooking food because of the feeling of care. So if we help the child to visualize the feeling of care, then he may start thinking, he may start investigating in himself about this feeling. And by this way, we can help child to explore the feelings. So mindset towards cooperation, sharing with others, creating opportunity of live and let live can be developed in the children through small examples, stories, right behavior, etc. So there may be various ways to tell a child. There may be various ways to draw the attention of a child towards this feeling. So we have to work with the child. So many times we tell a child with the help of stories. Many times we tell a child with the help of examples. Many things they learn from our behavior. So all this should be synchronized. So we should take care of when we tell stories, when we say example, that we are helping the child so that he may pay attention towards the reality. Similarly, imparting skills. So if family has a business or production in the family, then child may learn the skills at home. So we can impart those skills which are already exist in our family, so that there is no extra need for skill education. So we can tell him how to produce, we can tell him how to right utilize the things, we can tell him how to identify the needs. In this manner, we can help the child, so that by imitating you, by following you, he may start exploring about all the things. So many times child tell you his problems. You may help the child that the state of contradiction. You may help the child telling him that this is a state of contradiction and your natural acceptance is to live in harmony, to live in relationship. So you can help child to visualize the feeling of relationship. So if we do this kind of help at family level, most of the issues child may learn to resolve on their own. So by this way, we can help a child in the family environment. Similarly, if we talk about at society level, so the child can learn through a formal process of teaching, learning and understanding things at the school, at the college and university level. Informally, the child can learn from media, television, drama, movie halls, festivals, functions, etc. So direct learning can be held from teaching process, and indirect learning is done through various environment. So the child learns many things in the form of skill development at school and college, but the education of values like relationships and cooperation can be easily practiced at home till the age of 5. So if we are aware as a parents, if we are with the feeling of guidance, care, then child can learn many things from our environment. So at least this education of values can be ensured at home, can be practiced at home. Similarly, values of right understanding can also be grasped till the age of 5, because the child is clean slate during this period. So we can help the child in imparting those values, those understanding which are coexistential. We can help the child to pay attention towards the natural laws. All this can be done at the level of home. And then next, publicity, performance, publications are also helpful in this development. All these things may be used as a support system for what is given through direct interactions. So if there is anything wrong given through these, then the child will learn wrong. If it is right, then the child will learn right. So we have to be aware. We have to make effort. What is environment of the child? What he is trying to learn from his or her environment. The publicity, if the child is learning through this publicity that do not match what he has learned through direct interaction, then he may be in contradiction. Then he may lose trust in oneself. Then he may not have the opportunity to clarify this contradiction. So we should take care when the child is learning. So if we talk about school, college, university, so all the syllabus should be designed in such a manner that all the contents of the syllabus may help the child to see the reality. So whatever subjects the child is studying, are these subjects helpful to see the reality? As we talked about in previous lectures, what would be the placement of various subjects like geography, chemistry, history, political science, civic science in the context of harmony. So if we take care the proper placement of the subject, then the whole environment will help the child to see the reality. The whole environment help that child to investigate himself, and in this manner child can be facilitated to live in harmony. In this manner a child may become a natural agent for a fulfilling life. So all these points we have to take care. So if we are parents, we have to take care what the child is learning from us. If we are teacher, we have to take care what the child is learning from books. We have to review the contents of the book. We have to promote those kind of books, those kinds of syllabus that help the student to see the reality. We should help the child, the students, so that he can place the present subjects in the context of harmony. If we make such kind of policy at college level, school level, university level, then we can create a conducive environment for the child, for the students, so that he may get inclined towards harmony. And we talked in previous lectures about feeling between teacher and students. All those things have to ensure in the college, university, schools. So feelings are prominent while in teaching learning process. So we should prepare teachers who keeps feeling in the centers, teachers who are able to ensure feeling of guidance, feeling of care while teaching the students. We have to help students to recognize the feeling of gratitude, feeling of excellence for the teachers. All this has to be done at society level, at the level of school, college, university. Then we can see education at the level of system. So right to education. So we all know about the right to education in the policy. What do you meant by right to education is that every child should be given the priority, the opportunity to learn. So right to education basically provide the opportunity for every child to learn. So because this basic requirement of human being is education. As we studied in previous lectures, in the 4 orders, only human is in the knowledge order. Human beings are Shiksha, education, Sanskar governed. So if we see the scope of education, then the scope of education is only for human being. So education is a basic requirement for a human being. And education can become a opportunity for everyone. But unless we bring humane education into the policy, the right to education will also not work. So with right to education, there is a need to talk about contents of education. We should evaluate the education which we are giving to our child is enough capable to make them a human. Is the current education are making enough capable our students so that they may live with mutual happiness, mutual prosperity. So today we are talking about right to education, but with this there is a need to evaluate the content of education. There is a need to evaluate the significance of present subjects which are being taught in the education system. We have to revise the syllabus in the context of harmony, coexistence. All this has to be done. So if we are not aware about the content of education, if we are not giving the reality of this existence through education, then this right of education would also not work. So it is good that we have right to education, But along with this right to education, there is a need to reevaluate the content of education. So for this, we need to start at primary level. A child at the primary level can't go far away from his place, so he can learn here in the family and family cluster. So at the level of higher education, he can learn in the village and village cluster. And at the advanced level, there can be learning at the level of 10 to 20 villages, and then gradually at district level, state level, national level, international level. So while making the policy, it is important to keep in mind that education should be humane, and it is a necessary to establish it in the process of education as content. So when we are making content of education, then we should take care that there is a synchronization from school in the villages, to school in the district level, colleges, the state level, national level, international level. There should be synchronization in syllabus that finally lead to the reality. There should be an opportunity for every person to have favorable conditions and favorable means for a proper education. So once the content is right, content is aligned to reality, then the next step is we should ensure all means so that everyone get the opportunity to go to school to get the education. This have to ensure at the level of policy. So there should be the availability of content and the process of human education first, or there will be obstacle in taking human education to everyone. So first we have to ensure content and process for human education. Then we have to work to remove all those obstacles in the education that prevent students to go to school to get the education, etc. So in nutshell, with right to education, there is a need to evaluate the content of education. Then there should be facilities so that every student get that contents of education easily. And contents of education should be harmonious. So content of education should help students to see the reality. Content of education should help students to visualize harmonious social structure. Content of education should help students to see their participation. All this policy has to be made at system level. And then from living to value-based living. So we have to provide education for value-based living. An education that helps the child to live keeping values in the center. So education to value-based education. So first values in education, then value-based education. Okay. So let's move towards next. So priority in education policy. So what would be the priority? Number one, the contents and methods of education should be humane. And we talked a lot about this, that whatever contents we are going to give our child, our students, should be humane. It means after getting this education, students should be able to live with the feeling of excellence. Students should be able to practice ethical conduct. Students should be able to design holistic technologies. Students should be able to develop production system that mutually enrich the rest of nature. So first priority is we should discuss about content and method of education. Method of education, we should provide education in the exploration form so that student may explore on their own rights what is right for him or what is not right for him. So we have to design such education that help to find out the innate potential in child. So if the education is humane, then it should reach to every student. Then the next step is every person should get equal opportunity and favorable condition to get the required education. So before spreading education, before facilitating structures, what is required education, it should be discussed. What will be the outcome of the education, it should be discussed. Once it is identified, then we have to make policies. The system has to make policies so that every person should get opportunity and favorable condition to get the education. Then we should take care all supporting facilities for education so that it should be available to all. So if we talk about priority, so number one, first focus should be the content and methods of education. Then second, every person should get the opportunity for required education. And then third, all supporting facilities which are required to get this right education should be ensured at policy level. So the first thing is the process or method should be fixed and it should be humane, because if the thing and process not humane, then sooner or later there will be a problem in the generation, in civilization. Secondly, if there is no opportunity for every person, then it is also a problem. So we should facilitate at policy level so that everyone gets the opportunity to get the right education. When both are ensured, then some collaborative means will be needed and work should be done upon it. So you can explore, you can investigate whether the priority is right or not. If you have another priority, you can mail us, you can write in chat box, you can comment. Let's move towards responsibility of society and system. So what is the responsibility of society and system? So society and system are to be jointly responsible for providing all these things required for education. So it is a joint effort, it is a combined effort. So society, system should facilitate through the policy, and society must follow all those policies that ensure the required education in students. So it has to be ensured in this sense that education is the need of the society and the next generation. If we miss this, then in the absence of this, it has become the responsibility of individual to ensure education for himself or his children. So if we make combined effort, then it should be easy for everyone to get the education. So education must be the responsibility of societal order. It is not only the responsibility of family, it is a family of societal order. The responsibility of giving initial education is in the family. The rest, which is a matter of primary, secondary, higher education, is the responsibility of education system and society. But what has happened now is that this education has become a huge burden for the family in prevalent situation. It has become difficult for the family to think of anything else as the whole time of family is spent on the education and good health of the child. So both education and health should be the responsibility of society and the system at policy level. If we do not fulfill this responsibility, if the system do not fulfill its responsibility, then very soon all this work goes to private institution and they work as a business. They have made education system as a business. Why it is happening? Because of the lack of responsibility from society and system. So it is a combined effort. It is not only effort of system, it is not only effort of society. We should work combinedly to ensure such education. So what can we do? To ensure such education? So mass awareness. So there is a need of mass awareness about the right content of education, about the objective of education, about the right process of education. So conferences, workshops and discussions with the light people, with common people, in view to facilitate self-exploration about a holistic perspective with family members, people who have interest and readiness for purposefulness, societal effort and societal development. So mass awareness has to create about the content, about the process of education with a holistic perspective. So discussion should be held at family members. Discussion should held with people who shows interest and readiness for societal development. This discussion should be held with educators, teachers and education administrators. This kind of discussion should be held at policymakers and people connected to governance, colleagues at work. So there is a need of mass awareness. So what we can do for this? So there are some proposals. So short workshops can be held for decision makers. Member of boards like VC, deans, faculty members, etc. A short workshop can be held for them so that they may visualize, so that they may go the process of exploration and they may appreciate the content and process of education. Similarly, faculty development programs can be held 1 day, 3 days, 8 days, so that the discussion with faculty members can be done. Similarly, incorporating UHV in student induction program so that every student get exposure of the process of education. Every student get the exposure of the innate desire, of the basic aspiration. Short workshops, awareness program from faculty members, staff, non-teaching staff can be held. Weekly meetings can be done. We can identify staff, spouses and others who are willing to facilitate this kind of education. This can be done. Similarly, with this awareness, personal transformations will start happening. So this can facilitate self-verification. This mass awareness program can facilitate the process of self-verification, self-awareness, self-evaluation. With this foundation course on universal human values and ethics is required Various meetings can be held. Various social projects are required. Mentorship of students with senior faculty members is also required. There is also need to start higher level courses of UHV so that one can understand what is human being, understand coexistence, understand the importance of relationship. Then there is a higher level programs are also required, MTech, PhD, etc. It is required so that students can develop holistic technologies, holistic systems. When students pay attention in relationship, then management by relationship can be taught in education. Holistic human health kind of program is required in MBBS, etc. So all these programs can be made at various levels. Then requisite support and policy initiative by monitoring agencies like MHRD, UGC, AICT, ISMR, etc. will be helpful. Strengthening FDPs at large scale is also required so that resource person may get developed to spread this education everywhere in the nation and at the international level. There is also required a thrust for R&D dedicated towards transforming the whole mainstream education into holistic education system. There is also need of recognizing value-based stream of education for teaching, professional development, requirements, etc. So there is a need to design syllabus, faculty development program, teaching materials, various textbooks are required, PPTs are required, and many things also available at this site. There is a need of exam, evaluation, high level courses for faculty development program. So there, all these kind of things are required at system level so that everyone get this kind of education. Education that facilitate towards a harmonious society. So, okay friends, that's all from my side for today's lecture. So let's meet in next lecture. Have a good day. Thank you very much.